Hello, and thanks for joining us here at France 24. I'm Anelise Borges, and this is Tech 24. Coming up, reducing the digital divide. In today's show, we take a look at a new initiative in France that promises to get 100,000 more people connected by 2015. And in Test 24, we check out the new LG Pocket Photo mobile printer. But before we get to these stories, let's have a look at the figure of the week, brought to you by Le Journal du Net.
It should have been Facebook's event of the year for mobile phones, but when home came calling, no one picked up. The application turns any Android device into a Facebook phone, but was downloaded less than 1 million times over 3 weeks. That's disappointing for a social network with more than 1 billion members, 700 million of whom access the service over their mobiles. With the use of such devices on the increase, the stakes are high for Facebook. An American user spends twice as long on the network when on a mobile phone rather than a computer.
Moving on now. According to the International Telecommunications Union, 60% of the world population is expected to be online by 2015. Access to communications technology is part of the Millennium Development Goals to reduce global poverty and improve living standards. Here in France, mobile operator SFR has partnered with the charity organization Emmaüs to launch Solidarity Connections, a new program in the fight to conquer the digital divide. The project provides for a number of measures, including prepaid cards, mobile wireless terminals, as well as 3G keys to share that provide internet access to people living in shelters. Marc Edwards is with me in the studio. Marc, technology is really becoming an essential component in each economy. No one can afford to be left out. And France is among the countries fighting to overcome the digital gap. But when compared to other countries in Europe, for example, it becomes clear that France is not exactly a reference.
Well, let's firstly give them congratulations for this fantastic initiative. 57% of French people living on the breadline or below the breadline don't have access to the internet. And as you said, what this will provide is a 3G MiFi router. So it's a Wi-Fi that will provide 5 devices with the ability to go online via mobile technology. And that's incredible, considering it's only going to cost them around €1 per month on a 9-month sort of rolling contract. They're going to be rolling that out to already in Paris, then out to Grenoble, Marseille, and some of the rural areas. But yes, you're right. When we compare it to other countries, particularly the Scandinavian countries, are really the ones who are leading this process. I mean, Finland have become the first country in the world to make it a basic human right to have access to the internet. And by 1st of July, every single person will have access to 100 megabytes per second, or by law should have access, and they're hoping that by 2015 that'll be the case for every single person in Finland, which is incredible.
Now let's get outside of Europe, because the World Economic Forum published the 2013 Global Information Technology Report, which ranked 144 global economies on their ability to take advantage of digital infrastructure and content to increase economic growth. The BRICS economies, look at that, Marc, they continue to lag behind in the rankings. What does that mean for them?
Well, I think, Annelise, those rankings can be slightly misleading, if you will, because they owe much of the success of that economic growth to a proportion of the population who are willing to do the far more menial tasks at the bottom. And I think the real issue here is, how are the Chinas of this world going to bridge that divide, bridge this digital divide? Will the people at the bottom, those who are doing the very menial tasks in the factories, will they still want to do that when they become have more access to information technology? They become more educated. Will they really be willing to be in a factory hitting a button? And that's going to be the real issue there, I think.
The big challenge.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about countries that are relatively well off in terms of social developments. I just returned from Mali, where internet use is reserved for a mere 2% of the population. Concretely, what is being done in poorer places?
or according to Booz & Co. recent survey they did, digitalization has actually added $194 billion to the world economy and created 6 million jobs. And Africa, unfortunately, with the stats that you've given, are lagging behind. You know, people in developed markets are 1.4 times more likely to have mobile phones, which isn't a huge difference between developed and emerging. However, mobile broadband access sees that number balloon up to 7.3 times. And, you know, essentially that's where all the technological advances are being made. It doesn't mean that Africa's totally out of it. You know, Angola setting up 4G well before many of the countries in Europe. But again, that was in cooperation with China. So I think they're gonna need a lot of cooperative work with technology companies to try and bridge that divide.
Still a lot to be done in Africa and in other places. We'll have to move on now because it's time for Test 24. LG unveiled its mobile printer at CES 2013 in January. Pocket Photo is a mini photo printer compatible with Android and iOS devices. It operates wirelessly via Bluetooth or NFC. Pocket Photo will be hitting the shelves in Europe this week, first in France and in the UK, which is why Marc Edwards is going to test one for us today. Marc, LG is claiming that this is the smallest and lightest mobile printer in the market, but what I really want to know is, what about the quality of the print?
Well, look, I'll let you decide for yourself. Let's start with a little photo. Give me a smile there. We've got it. And okay.
Very natural.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll always use that one, and then let's just send that to print. And whilst we're doing that, so what it's using is some technology which they've developed called zinc, which is zero ink. So actually, what it takes is that it melts crystals on the paper that's provided, or that you purchase and is provided, and that's where you get the photos. So you don't need to keep, you know, recharging with those big ink printers and that sort of thing. I like it. I'd call it a cute device, really. You know, it comes
not exactly necessary.
No, not necessarily at all. I mean, it comes in 3 different colours. We've got pink, silver, and orange. You know, so I think in terms of what you'd really use it for, is far more to just be able to capture a moment and show it off at a wedding or at a party, that sort of thing. I can't imagine people would be walking around, carrying around these with them the whole time. And
how does it compare to other printers?
Well, you know, the first thing you said, it's a lot lighter than its nearest rivals. I also found the app was exceedingly intuitive, easy to use, and yeah, it works very fast, and it prints slightly faster than the rest of the competition. So they've worked on that technology. Oh, here we go. Can you see that printing at this very moment? Can we see that coming out? Look at that.
The colours seem quite nice, huh?
They are nice. It's not going to be if you take it to, you know, a high quality photography place. Or here we go. Look at that. Anelise looking lovely. I mean, it's good quality. I think it's more of a funny little thing to have at parties, as I said.
How did you rate the printer?
Look, design appearance, I think it's nice, 6 out of 10. Maybe if you prefer the colours, you might give it slightly higher. Very easy to use, as I said. For close to 150 euros, I just couldn't give it a good quality price ratio. 4 out of 10 overall. 6 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one-off gift. I'm not going to go buy one of these, if I'm going to be honest.
All right, thanks for that, Marc. That's all we have time for. Thank you for watching this edition of Tech 24. Don't forget, you can give us your feedback on the show via our social network pages. The addresses are there for you at the bottom of your screen. And we leave you today with footage of the sun compiled by NASA. This 3-minute video assembles 3 years of images at a rate of 2 images per day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.